Hello everyone, welcome to Bird Explored episode 9. We are going to talk about parrots today. So the new episode, new bird group, exciting bird group. So I think the last one probably 10 days ago or 2 weeks ago, we tried to be careful about the time, but this is our best. Yeah, today we are ready to talk about parrots and we are going to continue. The next episode probably is going to be more exciting, but I'm not going to tell you the details. So please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. So we want to continue and we need some support from you. And please subscribe to the channel. Okay, so I'm going to take Peter to the studio. Peter is here. Hello.
I'm in the studio.
You are in the studio, and I'm so glad to see you.
Yeah, you took me to the studio.
Yes, I think it wasn't correct.
It's fine, Utku.
No, please tell me. I should make a correction. So,
I'm just kidding.
Okay, fine.
Take me to the studio. Bring me to the studio.
I took the studio. Okay, so the Peter is here in the studio. So we are in the studio, and we are going to talk about parrots. You are excited?
Yeah, parrots are pretty cool. All these
Yes.
birds are interesting. We urge people to subscribe to the channel.
Yes. So we need some more subscribers because we need some support to continue. So we are really willing to do that.
And every group of birds that we discuss is exciting, and they're all good podcasts.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Peter. It's going to be a nice episode, hopefully. So, okay, I'm going to take the presentation to the studio.
Okay.
Here is the presentation, Birds Explored, new episode and parrots. So could you please start talking about parrots in general? Because, I mean, just a second. The parrots is, clever birds. I think parrots looks like a, how can I say? Parrots looks like a human being among the birds because they are thinking, they are really adaptable group. They are really plastic. I read something deeply. So as far as I know, they really adaptable birds, and they are like a human beings among the birds.
Yeah,
so,
well, they're a very intelligent group of birds. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So can we talk about the intelligence stuff when we talk about parrots and when we compare the parrots to other bird groups?
Yeah, well, a lot of people, they are familiar with the ability of some parrots to imitate the human voice and to learn how to imitate sounds. It's not the only group of birds that can do that. Crows can do that. Starlings can do that. But parrots are, in general, kind of social birds. If you find them in groups, either nesting in groups or flocking in groups, and organisms, animals that are sort of social like that often have a lot of complex interactions, communication with each other, sophisticated vocalizations, sophisticated behavior about living in groups. Often there's sentinel, meaning that there is a lookout bird. You see that with crows a lot, but you see that with the parrots. There's a couple of parrots that's kind of sitting in a tree high up, and if there's danger around, like a hawk, a predator of some sort, they'll give out some kind of an alarm call and alert the rest of them. In terms of the ability to learn new things, parrots, of course, have been kept in captivity for thousands of years by different cultures. and they can be taught rather quickly how to do tricks, ride little bicycles, bring something to their owner, something specific when the owner asks for it. So they're quite complex, quite intelligent birds.
Okay, thank you for this introduction. I just try to say how many species in parrots exists.
It varies. Yeah.
Yeah, it varies, but I'm gonna move to first slide. So it's it is impressive. I mean, 179 different species and 37 different genera. So it's a lot. It's a lot of different things.
Yeah, I think I might have seen somewhere where there were a lot more species than that. But as you know, that fluctuates depending on when people are doing research on taxonomy and systematics. Sometimes you can get fewer species. Sometimes you can get a lot more. It depends on whether they're split up or they're lumped together. But that's quite a bit. 179 species, if that's around the number. It's quite a lot. So you can expect a lot of variation within the family.
When we finished the does and pigeons, I got some comments from different friends. So they were really surprised when they heard we were talking about. I mean, when we say pigeons, there are lots of different species.
Yeah.
But people just really familiar. I mean, rock pigeon,
right?
Just dove.
Right. I think that's it. Yeah.
Species, that's it. But there are lots of different species, and probably they are going to be also impressed when they see 179 different species in parrots.
Yeah, and I have to say something here about the family Psittacidae. Apparently, the family has been split up into 4 or 6 families, depending on, or the order, I should say, has been split up into 4 or 6 families of late. So there's a lot of work going on with parrots, a lot of people doing genetic work, and there's still some disagreement about just how many families within the order Psittaciformes.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe we should just cite the Brian Smith's last monograph published in American Museum Bulletin of the American Museum Natural History. So they did very nice work. They published a very comprehensive phylogenetic work about parrots and very recent work.
Yep.
Okay. So the Brian Smith, who is the department chair right now at AMNH in Department of Ornithology.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this slide here, just shows us one family, Psittacidae.
Right. That's true.
Okay.
So this is a distribution, which is interesting for me. There is no parrots in the northern hemisphere.
Right. They're pantropical birds. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But there are some invasive birds. I mean, in Turkey, we have 2 different parrot species in the big cities.
Yeah.
They look like very invasive because they are social birds. They are intelligent birds. They are probably get really adaptable, behavior when they get in the different environments. So they usually get along with the other species, sometimes really invasive species. We don't know 2 parrot species in Turkey really invasive or not, but they are really living here for a long time.
Yeah, well, in the United States, we used to have an endemic parrot. We'll talk about it later. But in Florida and California and New York, there are what we call feral parrots that have been introduced one way or another and have been able to survive. In New York, we have the monk parakeet, or the monk parrot, that builds big stick nests in the telephone poles and in structures like that. Many years ago, I think the 1980s, ornithologist named Kimball Garrett in Southern California, he wrote an article called City Scenes with Psittacenes. And the article was about all of the feral parrots, many species in Southern California. You go to Los Angeles, there's a whole bunch of different parrot species that have become established there. So I just remember the title of that, and that was that's some time ago. Maybe somebody could find that if you put Kimball Garrett as the author. Parrots, you might find that online somewhere.
Okay. I have one question when I see this map. Well, we both are biogeographers. So, which geography has the most increased richness in terms of parrot species? I mean, Amazons or Sub-Saharan Africa or Australia?
I think the rich tropical places like South American jungles, the South Pacific Islands,
Okay.
have the most diversity and the most abundance.
But I think the Australia also has lots of endemics.
Oh yeah, Australia has a lot of parrots there that are not found only in Australia. New Guinea
Right.
also.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you made this slide. So I'm gonna leave this slide with you. I don't know. You are gonna talk about general characteristics.
Yeah, a couple of adaptations of the parrots. I guess it's worth noting now that the new phylogenies, the more recent phylogenies that have been done with parrots and some other birds, show that parrots are quite closely related to the falcons, the falconidae that we talked about. I think we might have even mentioned when we talked about the peregrine.
Very interesting.
I think we mentioned that the falcons are clustered in there with parrots in the phylogeny in the tree. That seems to be the case. And it's interesting, like hindsight's 2020. So you look at this blue and gold macaw, this big picture here, and the bird's got a hooked falcon-like beak, falconid-like beak. It's got a fleshy cere where you can see the nostrils in there. Very falcon-like. They have long pointed wings like falcons. They have sort of feathers that stick tight to the body. And then you can think about it even more. If you know more about the falcons, most parrots don't build nests like falcons. They nest in hollow trees or ledges or something like that. Their vocalizations are very, very similar to falcons, high-pitched kinds of things. So that's kind of interesting just to look at the morphology and kind of compare. The photo in the upper right shows an interesting adaptation in the bill of these parrots. Of course, the bill is very short and powerful. It's almost like a pair of bolt cutters. And the upper mandible is attached to the base of the skull with a little sort of hinge-like structure. So that's what is shown there around that, the arrow pointing to the base of the bill at the top. And so if you watch a parrot eat, or you watch a parrot manipulate something in its foot, they like to hold things with their feet and feed on them while they hold them. You can see that the bill opens and closes, but it also has a lot of movement back and forth and up and down at the base of the bill. So it's able to manipulate things in its beak very, very well. And I think all the parrot groups have that. The bird in the middle on the right is a lory, and you can see
colorful one.
Lories are pretty colorful, and you can see that its tongue is sticking out. And if you look at the tip of the tongue, it's got little sort of bristles on the tongue, and I think they use that to get nectar and certain things from flowers and plants. Not all parrot tongues look like that. Most of them are just kind of just big, thick tongue. But the lories have that little structure on the end. And on the lower right, looks like a cockatoo showing us his foot. And like the woodpeckers, the parrots have a zygodactyl toe arrangement, two toes in front and two
fingers is
not fingers, toes.
No, toes, sorry.
The fingers would be on the wings.
I'm not an ornithologist.
Yes, you are. You're just funny. Yeah. So and they're able to manipulate their toes. They can. Watching a parrot eat something is just amazing. They hold it and they manipulate it with their bill, and you can see the power in that big bill of that macaw there. They crack open Brazil nuts and hard shelled nuts with that beak. It's a very powerful beak. They have quite a bite.
Wow. So you said the parrots really related to the raptors.
Yeah, and some passerines. I mean, if you look at the phylogeny, they're right next to the raptors, but they're in there.
Related
Yeah.
to raptors. So the
Yep.
raptors not as social birds like parrots, right?
Well, some of them are. If you remember the caracaras,
Yeah.
and Harris hawks, which are accipitrids, they're very social. I'm glad you brought that up because there are indeed some social raptors.
Okay. I'm just trying to make connection.
Yeah.
In terms of behavior.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the next slide. Well, actually, I added this slide. What makes parrots special? Because we should just say something about this. Parrots really obvious clearness.
Right. We kind of mentioned it a little bit.
Personalities, rich social lives. So we already mentioned, and behavioral flexibility. I mean, they are plastic birds. I said I prefer to say plastic, but it is sometimes confusing. But do you think using plastic is the correct term?
I suppose so, or adaptive.
And also the other thing, I took my attention to long lifespans.
Right. Yeah, I was just going to mention that.
Right.
Some of these macaws, these big macaws, can live to be 70 years old.
My goodness. I mean, it's a lot. It's really long.
I had a parakeet once that lived to be 10. His name was Bruce.
Okay. And also, I think their adaptive characteristics, they really make some mimicry in terms of the sound.
Yeah. Well, of course, if you in captivity, they'll mimic people. They'll mimic machinery, but not all of them are capable of it. Some are better talkers. The African gray parrot is very good at mimicking the human voice. So is the Amazon parrots in South America. They're pretty good at it. But little birds like cockatiels and budgeriggers to some extent can mimic. But some are better than others. People who breed parrots in captivity, they know which ones are really good at mimicking the human voice, and they kind of sell them based on that ability.
Yeah, and also different references say they have the human-like intelligence. So because of this situation, I told you that at the beginning, they are kind of human being among the birds. So the human-like intelligence, I think, is a correct description for them.
Yeah, I mean, difficult to tell if it's exactly like human beings, but as far as we can tell, they're certainly intelligent and very adaptable to different situations.
Right. Okay, I'm gonna move to next slide.
How beautiful is a scarlet macaws?
Yeah. What about this? I mean, what about this slide?
So you think about the parrots kind of clambering around in trees, using their feet as a way to pull themselves up in branches, which they certainly can do. But they're pretty good at flying. I mean, they got these long pointed, sort of falcon-like wings, and long tails, and the bill appears heavy, but as you know, the bill is very light. The bone underneath that sheath is kind of spongy bone, so it's not impeding their ability to fly by adding any weight. So this slide just kind of shows a kind of a graceful flight through the air. They're superb aerialists, very volant. Some are not very good at flying, and there is a flightless parrot as well.
Oh, flightless parrots? Which ones?
I forget if that's the kakapo or the kia. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Is the kakapo a parrot? Maybe not.
Probably yes, maybe not. But
Maybe
well,
not.
Kakapo is not really the good flyers. No, I mean that's
Yeah,
correct.
yeah, maybe not. Yeah, kakapo, right? It's that
Yeah,
big
Kakapo is not
green
a
parrot. Yeah,
good
that's right. Yeah,
flyer. Green parrot. Yeah,
right. Kind of a ground dwelling parrot. Yeah.
their bills really take my attention because it really looks like a, I mean, hook.
Yeah,
I mean, it's really similar
definitely.
with the raptors.
Right.
Okay,
And not just all raptors, but the falcons in particular.
right. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's true.
yeah.
Well,
So this is neat. Yeah,
diurnal falcons. Yeah.
yeah. This bird here in the middle. This is a monk parakeet, and I think they're native to South America. But this is one that perhaps has built a nest in a human built structure. These are the ones that are all over Long Island, New York, and other parts of New York, and other parts of the United States. And here's just one here, but they're usually in groups, and it's one of the parrot species that builds a stick nest.
Okay.
Then on the upper right there looks like a couple of lovebirds. Just wanted to show an illustration of some eggs, parrot eggs,
Mhm.
and these are captive birds. They're laying eggs right there at the bottom of their cage, it looks like.
Right.
Um, and then on the bottom, these look like Amazon parrots. These are nestling Amazon
Three of
parrots.
them. Yeah, three
Yeah,
little things.
yeah, little things, and you can see their weird zygodactyl toes, and
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
they look a little bit like hawks, and they look
Right.
like they would probably leave the nest, pretty soon. And it looks like they may be in a little depression on a cliff. That looks like the nest site there. So yeah, so some
Okay.
nests, some eggs, and some young birds.
So for this episode, actually, it is most im- important or interesting thing for me. The parrots really close to some parrots really close to raptors.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting for me.
Yeah, you could look at the phylogenetic tree at some
Yeah,
point. Yeah.
right. We can put a link under this video when we published in
hmm
YouTube, so they can just download maybe the bulletin
hmm
paper published by Brian Smith et al.
hmm
So I want to talk about the senses. Which senses are most developed in parrots,
hmm
and do you think why?
Well, I mean, the eyesight and hearing are um, very critical to practically all bird species. I mean, um, some have a more highly developed sense of hearing than they do visual acuity. A lot of the nocturnal birds they don't see color; they only see in black and white, shades of gray, but they can still see quite well. And all birds can hear things quite well. Otherwise, they're not going to survive. Um, and very few birds have a well-developed sense of smell, and very few birds have a very poor sense of taste because those generally aren't that important in the survival of the bird. Now, birds like kiwis, which maybe we can talk about at some point, um, uh, or maybe we did already. Did we do the ratites and the kiwis? I don't remember.
No, no,
We didn't. We didn't. It was something else I'm thinking
we
of.
are
But
gonna do it.
yeah, we should do that because kiwis have a very highly developed sense of smell. They're nocturnal. Their nostrils are at the end of the beak, and they probe the, the bill into the mud looking for invertebrates to eat. I think they can smell them. They can also kind of feel them. They have a highly developed sense of touch.
Yeah.
Um, and when you don't have a really good sense of smell, you usually don't have much of a good sense of taste. Birds have very few, if any, sort of taste buds on their tongues. So this makes sense. Uh, so this question and this comment here is pretty relevant to most bird species.
Okay. Well, thanks for this. I think it's the next slide is going to be the last slides for parrots.
Yeah, this is just to show the diversity. Yeah, so
Kalkopu is here. Kalkopu is here.
Right. That's the kakapo. Excuse me. Yeah, the kakapo is the one all the way on the right in the middle.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and yeah, it's big ground parrot, and kind of odd, and I think it's in its own family. I'm trying to remember what I was looking at before. I think it's its own family. It's not Psittaciformes.
No.
And then on the bottom is the Kia. See that big bill?
Right.
The Kia, big hooked bill, and those birds, you can see that they are found at high elevations. That bird's in the snow there, and
Yes, that's true. Yeah, it's high
yeah,
elevation parrots.
yeah, and the Kia is known to eat meat. They will feed on the carcasses of sheep and that sort of thing. So there you go. I mean, there's a meat-eating parrot, very falcon-like. And then at the top on the right, there's the African gray parrot, which is really good at mimicking the human voice. In the middle, you've got these eclectus parrots, the green
Yes.
and the red one.
Yes.
And they're a really interesting kind of parrot. There's a reverse sexual dimorphism there. The female is the red one, and the male is the green one.
What about the orange and yellow, the upper left side?
Yeah, those look like conures of some sort. I don't know
Yeah.
exactly which species. And then on the bottom is the
Macaw.
scarlet macaws and blue and yellow macaws. Yeah,
Right.
and I think
right.
there's some hybridization in the macaws, even in the wild.
I mean, yeah, in the birds, I mean, 10% of species get hybridization. So it's interesting.
Yeah, and in the middle bottom there is looks like one of these smaller, maybe some kind of a fig parrot or lovebird. I'm not familiar enough with the different species. There's so many.
Well, this is a high diversity. I mean,
Yep.
they live in tropics, and there are lots of different niches.
Right, and
So
then you
they
have
are-
these huge macaws like the hyacinth macaw, which is huge, and the big cockatoos in Australia. But then
Right.
in the Pacific Islands, South Pacific Islands, you get these little fig parrots, which are only
Yes.
about
Yes.
as a couple inches. So a big diversity and a great diversity in size and color.
I thought this one the last slide, but it's not the last slide. So
No, we
I
have
think
more to talk about. This, yeah.
this one is the last slides, and this is
Yeah.
this is from Audubon.
Yeah, well, the painting on the right is an Audubon
Yeah,
painting.
Audubon. It's very beautiful, gorgeous painting.
Yeah, this is the Carolina parakeet. Now, if you look at the range map up there,
Yes.
this is where the Carolina parakeet's range was. It's extinct. The bird
Yes.
is gone. But that's the range, not just a southern bird in warm climates, but made its way all the way up into the temperate zones and into southern New York State and so on. And there's a mounted one on the bottom, and there's some study skins in the middle. And this bird, suffered from habitat loss. It was captured for the pet trade. It was slaughtered because it was considered an agricultural pest. All these different things, all these various combinations of factors that contributed to its ultimate extinction. And I believe wound up becoming extinct in the early 1900s at some point.
Why is it extinct?
Well, I just mentioned it was loss of habitat. People would capture them as pets, agricultural concerns. The parrot would feed on corn and these kinds of crops, and so they
Actually,
were wiped out.
I was going to ask you. It's not. I mean, why? Yeah, you mentioned already, but how long it took to be? Well, it took this species to be extinct. I mean,
Yeah. I'm not sure.
Because habitat loss. I mean, it is the human impact.
Right. But I think that they were really persecuted as agricultural pests.
Right. When
So,
when I think about the passenger pigeon, probably the passenger pigeon get really extinct very fast, and also dodo is the same, but dodo is the island
well, they
bird.
were also being eaten. You know, I don't think a lot of people eat
Right.
these
Right.
parrots. Yeah. So there's a little bit of a different history there.
Okay.
By the time they were on the way out, Frank Chapman of the American Museum, he had collected some in Florida
Right.
towards the time when they were becoming very rare. There were only a couple of flocks sort of left down there, and then they were gone within a decade or two.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Peter. I think we finished the presentation here.
Yeah,
It is very nice. I mean, it's very good richness in the group. So it's a good introduction for our audience.
yeah. Well, you could talk all day about
Yeah,
the
definitely. But
order, and you could take any species and talk about it for days. Yeah.
yeah, we try to get the key points for the parrots, but I think
Mhm.
it's nice.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for the
Yeah.
next episode. I said it's gonna be surprise, but we are gonna have um, another guest.
Yeah.
So the last episode, actually, the previous episode, we got the guests, but
Mhm.
I have to mention, I think here we had some voice problems that I couldn't fix.
Mhm.
So sorry about that for the our followers.
Technical
But
difficulties.
yeah, some technical difficulties. We got the recording and I couldn't fix it. So, well, sorry about that, but there's nothing to do. But the next time we are not going to have this problem. We are going to be careful about this. But the next episode, hopefully, we are going to get new guests. I mention the name?
Yeah, if you wanna mention the name or you want to make it a surprise, that's up to you. Would go to your
Okay,
show.
it's going to be surprise. Okay, so the one of the very good taxidermists and very good natural history person. So we are going to have him here. At least I can say we are going to have him here
Yeah,
to talk about.
you're dying to spill the beans.
Right, definitely. But I'm not going to say anything more. Okay. Thank you so much for this
Okay,
episode.
Atul.
I'm looking forward to meeting you again for the
Yeah,
next one.
yeah, good.
Okay.
Take care of
Bye.
yourself.
Yeah, you too. And then bye for now.
All right, Atul.